If you're here for the audition, please take a seat right over here. Thank you.
Agent Allen, report to Administration Sublevel 2.
What the? How the hell? Who let this garbage in here? Alright, time to take out the trash. Come here, you nasty bitch.
Oh, what the? Oh, man, what the? Oh, God.
What?
Dude, what are you doing? Oh, I'm here for the audition.
Oh, oops. But why are you acting like a zombie?
I'm just method acting, man. Oh.
Hey, look, sorry about the...
No.
Trouble!
Sending you indeed to be on your guard. Good hunting, Doctor.
Entropy Zero 2 is a Half-Life mod that expands significantly on the universe by putting you in the shoes of a Combine soldier. It's a direct sequel, developed by the same small team of talented modders behind Entropy Zero, and has you returning as Aiden Walker, aka 3650, aka Bad Cop. I actually just played both games back to back for the first time, and we'll definitely be focusing this review on Entropy Zero 2, but spoiler alert, I am gonna recommend you play both games, guys, especially if you're a Half-Life fan. We're starting with the gameplay, and Entropy Zero 1 and 2 are both Source Engine games, which subsequently come with all the nostalgia and all the quirkiness you probably remember from Half-Life. Things like the weird floaty movement, clipping on things in-game too easily, and of course, the classic loading screens. I'd say these were issues, but considering both games may not exist without the Source SDK, they're easily forgivable here, and it just feels and looks and plays like Half-Life, which is impossible not to love. Speaking of love, there's nothing but praise from here on out, guys. Entropy Zero 2 captures what we all love about Half-Life, but through the eyes of the Combine. It has excellent level design that's dynamic through the entire game. In one level, you're stealthing through a testing lab being hunted by a huge alien. In another, you're driving a Combine APC, fighting through rebel encampments, and they even weaved in Aperture Science into the storyline, which has you carrying a companion turret through an entire level and using weighted companion cubes to solve puzzles. They also added new weapons and animations that are excellent. You can now kick open doors and break items in the world or kick enemies. There's new recoil and reloading animations, a new MP5K with burst fire. You can now charge up your pistol to shoot a higher damage dealing projectile, and my favorite, the new Zen grenades that will suck in and teleport anything in proximity to them over to Zen, trapping them there, with the added perk of also bringing things back from Zen at the same time. Sometimes it's health or ammo, or more often than not, a very pissed off Zen alien. These additions and tweaks to existing mechanics not only made the combat feel fresh, but it really played better than original Half-Life games. There's a fluidity and momentum to the fighting here that just isn't as clunky as the originals. On top of all that, they included a new squad feature where you can recruit and command a small group of Combine soldiers on certain missions, which was really cool. And that leads into the final gameplay element I want to cover, which is how well the game builds on itself, not only from beginning to end, but also within each level. Whether it's a cool boss fight or an intense scene that leads to someone dying or getting saved. Sometimes it's a big decision you have to make that impacts the story, or it's a scenario that ends up with a huge battle sequence where you get to set up an ambush against the rebels and organize your little squad of Combine soldiers into the right places so they can mow them down as they pour in. The game does a fantastic job building itself up and then rewarding you with some excellent gameplay that's creative and fun to be part of, especially through the eyes of the Combine. I'm giving gameplay 5 out of 5 stars. Let's quickly cover the graphics next, and there's really not a lot to say here, guys. It's a Source game, and it definitely shows. Despite its dated look, however, there are a couple things worth mentioning here. Firstly, they really did a great job creating unique scenes that were full of detail and had a sense of grittiness and scale to them that really set its dark tone perfectly. They also played around with the lighting in some cool ways, both in Entropy Zero 1 and 2. Certain levels can get really dark at times, and they use this to create some intense moments that I loved in both games. So at the end of the day, despite it looking like it time traveled from 2004, it was still very immersive with some cool settings visually. I'm giving graphics 4 out of 5 stars. Audio's up next, and the music is a completely original soundtrack made up of a cool mix of industrial rock songs that bounce back and forth between high and low tempos that match the vibe of the gameplay really well. I honestly enjoy listening to this OST outside of the game more than any other Half-Life, including Black Mesa. So the soundtrack lead, Spencer Baguette, did an excellent job here because it really boosts the gameplay and is just a great soundtrack to listen to, period. All the weapons have had an audio overhaul and they all sound great as well. And of course, you get all the even some, and of course it's all here, guys, and it is kick-ass. The other aspect I was really impressed with here is the voice acting. First off, your character is always spitting some witty, clever shit talk that constantly made me smile, but even cooler was the dialogue between the main characters. The game is rich with dialogue, and between the actors' delivery, the cool effects on the voices, and the good writing, which I'll get into more next, I was always dialed into what was being said and just enjoyed every bit of it. I'm giving audio 5 out of 5 stars. Story's up next, and if the gameplay is the star of the show here, the story is absolutely the co-star. Now, I really enjoyed the original Entropy Zero story that takes place prior to Half-Life 2 and sets up the main character you play perfectly in Entropy Zero 2. However, the original also had the kind of story I was expecting from a mod team. It was by no means bad, I honestly really enjoyed it, but Entropy Zero 2's story really blew me away, guys. It takes place in parallel to the events of Half-Life 2 Episode 1, where the Combine has tasked you with hunting down Dr. Judith Mossman and sends you straight into the heart of the rebellion to do so. And the first thing that impressed me was the excellent writing and multiple ways in which the game tells its story. Every story-driven moment is full of this rich, meaningful dialogue that adds to both the overarching story and your character's story. So while these cool, bigger picture events were going down, it also felt particularly personal, which was really motivating and rewarding as you made progress in the game. You also end up acquiring a sentient aperture science turret early on in the game that you can choose to leave behind at the end of the level he was designed for, or take him with you until the end of the game, which I highly recommend you do. The banter between your main character and the turret named Wilson and how their relationship develops is really neat, and he significantly adds fun and interesting elements to the gameplay as you progress. And there's a couple other great decision-making moments you'll encounter in the game that all add up and combined affect the gameplay and the ending you'll get when you finish the game. I believe there's 3 different normal endings and a secret ending based on the decisions that you make, such as keeping Wilson around with you until the end. All that gets polished off with some fun lore you find strung throughout the levels in the form of reading material and audio tapes that are both interesting and present just enough to not feel cumbersome, while also adding a ton of world building into the game if you're like me and love that kind of stuff. So the story impressed me big time, guys. I'm giving it 5 out of 5 stars. Settings are up, and you get your classic source engine menus here. Key rebindability is first, and this was great. WASD, ESDF, and mouse and numpad can all get rebound without issue. You'll also find your mouse sensitivity and some other mouse settings under the mouse tab. Video and graphics are next, and there's nothing missing under video, and the brightness levels are included in here too. Graphics are located under advanced, and you get all the traditional options here, which there's a bunch of, along with your FOV slider. Audio's up, and there's no dedicated voice dial to adjust, but you do get a game and music slider, which is good. It does, however, include audio source config options, a quality setting, and your subtitle options are here as well, which I normally like off, but I recommend having them on here since there's a ton of combined dialogue that can easily be missed or misunderstood if you don't have these on. Lastly are the gameplay options, which are limited to difficulty settings, not only because some of the other options are located in different tabs, but there's also no colorblind modes. So no surprises here, and a great set of options overall. I'm giving them 5 out of 5 stars. Let's give it a final score, guys. An Entropy Zero 2, along with 1 for that matter, adds to the Half-Life universe in some big ways. I wasn't sure going into it how well both games would play and if they would truly bring something creative and fresh to the table, or even build on the world in ways that gripped me, but I was happily surprised here in every way. I'm giving Entropy Zero 2 5 out of 5 stars. It's free on Steam, guys. Both games, in fact, are 100% free on Steam, and what a gift to be on the receiving end of such a passion project these talented modders have poured their time and energy into. They're a brilliant tribute to the franchise that pays homage to its best qualities, while also taking creative liberty to bring you a fresh new story that's full of surprises and really fun to play. I highly recommend it. Before we end today, guys, I want to take a moment to share with you the developer's website where you can donate and leave some feedback if you do end up playing the game. Simply head over to entropyzeromod.com, click on Team, then scroll all the way down to the bottom where there's a link entitled Buy Breadman a Coffee. This will open up a Ko-Fi page where you can then make a donation to the team and leave a comment if you'd like. All donations get split between the developers and help them toward their next project, which hopefully will be Entropy Zero 3, so be sure to give some love back to these guys for their amazing work if you can. Thanks for joining me today, guys. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe and bell button below to join me for all my future reviews. Give me a like if you enjoyed this review, and there's going to be a Patreon link right here in just a second if you'd like to support the channel. I really need your support, guys, to help keep the channel going and growing, so do check that out if you haven't already. A big thank you to all my amazing patrons, and I will see you on the next Gurhm's Garage. Peace.